welcome. You have tuned into In Your Interest here on News9 Live. I'm Krishna Kumar, and the big story we're talking about on the show today is the 2,52,000 rupees per annum job offer, salary offer that was given by Cognizant for freshers in India. Is that pittance of an offer an indication of a fading IT sector story in India? That's the big question we're asking. Now, that offer of 2.52 lakh rupees per annum was given by Cognizant as part of an off-campus hiring drive, and in fact, Cognizant called it a quote-unquote exciting offer. Now, it roughly translates to 18 to 19,000 rupees per month after deduction, and obviously, it triggered a meme fest. Now, what's making matters worse post the meme fest, and it's continuing the meme fest, is the discovery of the salary package of the CEO of Cognizant. 52-year-old Ravi Kumar Singhi Sethi, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Cognizant since January 2023, is currently the highest paid CEO in India. In fact, he got as much as 186 crore rupees as the annual salary package for the last year, making him the highest paid IT sector CEO in 2023. His salary is 556 times the median salary of Cognizant employees. This staggering disparity in income levels is what has got everybody talking. Now, recent surveys reveal that the average CEO salary in India is around 13.8 crore rupees, whereas for IT sector, the median pay for CEOs in IT services was nearly 50 crore rupees, or 49.8 crore rupees. Sample this, the CEO of Infosys, Salil Parikh's salary is 700 times that of the median employee's salary in Infosys. And that's much the case across all IT sector, and in fact, all CEOs versus freshers as far as the salary package comparisons are concerned. So, is it time for the enforcement of a minimum wage in the IT sector, and in fact across all the boards when it comes to a fresher's salary? Let's find that out. We have some special guests joining us. Let's begin with Prabir Jha, distinguished HR strategist, founder and CEO of Prabir Jha People Advisory. Prabir, thank you so much for joining us. Pleasure talking to you as always. Look at that number. There is no way you can justify it considering the inflation levels that we're witnessing. Inflation in food, inflation in house rents, inflation in medical services, telecom. We've seen all our phone bills and data bills go up. 2.52 lakh rupees per annum. That too from IT sector. That too from a premier American IT services and consulting services company. Very difficult to digest that, and you're seeing what's happening, especially the contrast with the CEO's salary.
So, Krishna, I mean, it's very difficult to kind of absorb this because one is the substance and the business logic of it. The other is the philosophy of it. And philosophically, you made some absolutely incisive points as part of the introduction. Where will it end? The growing differential between median and the CEO salary, between the min salary of an employee in a company and the max salary directionally of a CEO. It's a trend that is worsening. And while the answer is it's about paying for the relevant talent at the appropriate level for the requisite impact and responsibility, a market compensation, it actually begets the question of, is this philosophically right? Now, as far as this case is, not that I want to comment on a company or I know all the facts, because sometimes, what is mentioned often could be almost like a stipend, and there are many things which are taken care of above and beyond. I don't know, right? And there could be opportunities for people to take the offer or not take the offer. So, there is a demand-supply reality that if there are people who are still wanting to kind of enter such a company, get the brand name, maybe learn the few skills, I don't know. But my response is more philosophical, with the kind of pressures that the industry is in. And if therefore the compensation of entry-level resources of the kind you're talking about is getting compressed, what really explains CEOs actually getting higher and higher compensation? And that philosophically does not pass the smell test. So it's disturbing. But again, I for one don't know whether there's anything more than what one is getting, the 2.5 lakh number. And it'll be very interesting to see whether there are people of the right kind who are going to be applying for such jobs. I think the assumption is that they will get the right talent. My sense is they will not, because 2.5 lakhs is something that maybe a chauffeur in Mumbai is going to draw. So we'll have to wait and watch
Right.
what is the interest response of the relevant talent pool.
The reason why this debate is getting stronger and stronger is because if you see since 2019, in the last 5 years, during the pandemic and post the pandemic, especially over the last 5 years, you've seen only the CEO's salaries, grow at an average of around 20%. And that's, possibly because of how prices have gone up post pandemic of just about everything under the sun. Now, the simple question is, why is it that only CEO salaries see a growth but other salaries don't? In fact, this current offer of 2,52,000 is the same that Cognizant offered 20 years ago. These fresher salaries seem to be stuck in a time loop, Prabir.
It is, Krishna, it is, you're picking up a recent experience, but when I look back at my own executive life, this is a battle I've fought many a time. It's the same pattern. It's not new. It's been there for a long, long time. It is the CEO whose salary is kind of, and he's laughing his way to the bank. And, whether it is downsizing, exiting others, etc. Organizations have been very merciless. I will be very, very honest. It's not been an easy thing. But the point has come, where does it end? Because the apathy, the indifference, and most important, the philosophical belief of the chief executive of a company to be making sure that his or her rewards continue to climb, but you suppress everyone's compensation down the line. It is very tragic. I, for one, again, as I said, I don't know, but I don't know what is the gamble that they are playing. Either they believe that in this demand-supply realities, in the kind of crisis the industry is in, maybe they'll get great talent, to come in at 2.5 lakhs. I would be very surprised. I don't know whether this is more for some of the IT-enabled jobs or it is for hardcore IT, cutting-edge skills. So in the absence of that, I can't comment on the 2.5 lakhs because, again, the price points for different skill sets are different. But what you're raising is what I think where my mind lies, that philosophically, is this what great companies, companies that people look up to should be doing? And at least I would not be very, very happy and convinced that this trend of executive compensation climbing and the compensation of the rank and file being reduced or possibly people being let go. This is not a trend which passes my sense of moral compass.
Okay. The reason why I'm asking is that is there something that's particularly going wrong in the way IT companies? IT companies are under pressure right now. All the talk when it comes to the job market is all about layoffs and hiring freezes. So in that sense, is there a problem fundamentally with the IT sector and its earnings, and that is the reason why this is happening?
No, it is. And this is not unique to only IT. Every industry goes through its business cycles. And it is only fair to accept that, if the business cycle is going south, there is going to be a tightening of the belt. And in a company or in a space which is very heavily, from a cost perspective, manpower driven, manpower will be an area that they will want to kind of tighten. So I understand that and I respect it. And therefore, the issue of layoffs, the issue of so-called downsizing, right sizing and stuff like that, all of that we understand. I think if that were the case, like many, at least in the IT space, they've already moved to deferred increments. They've moved to quarterly variable payout so that it's more indexed to near-term performance. So all that I personally feel are okay. They are more aligned to the industry volatility. The question is, why does it happen only for the rank and file? And it could even be middle management. It could even be some from the senior management who may not have a job or may have reduced bonuses or reduced increments. The comment you're making is, why is it that the CEO's compensation continues to climb irrespective of performance? And that is really, to my mind, reflective also on the board's thinking. Have the boards really done their job, the fiduciary job of aligning senior or executive compensation to performance of the company? Is it only about making sure that the talent somehow stays? Is this such a big thing that, a company executive, who has joined is going to leave tomorrow morning just because you don't give him the kind of rise you're talking about? And these are issues of board governance, board philosophies, and the fact that is it, and this is not just IT. My only comment is you're raising it in the context of IT. I see it all across. In all industries, it's the same story. And if a promoter were to do it, you would kind of blame the promoter for saying, okay, he's kind of, got given himself a big hike, like some of the recent examples of revisions one read in the press. But professional CEOs by so-called, independent boards getting this kind of a reward while you see a pattern of suppressed wages, I think is reflective of actually board governance and board practice.
Okay. What do you think can be done at a stage like this? Because, one is you're talking about that 2.52 lakh offer, wondering who's going to take it up. But look at the way the job market is. Many would still be willing to pick it up. In fact, I was talking to another HR consultant and they were talking about the fact that this is an opportunity to enter an organization like Cognizant, to get trained by them and then have that on your CV as well. It looks like even this, there's going to be crowding around for this offer as well.
So, I don't disagree. And in my opening comment, I made that observation also, that at the end of the day, there must be a gamble that the company is playing. Maybe there is a glut of talent. Maybe some money is better than no money. Some employment, some experience, some sense of being in a well-known corporate is better than working with an unknown entity. So there will be some people who I'm sure will still kind of say, at least I keep my skills alive. Right. So, I understand that. That's the reality of how the world is. The question is, how low would you as an employer go? Because please remember, these are situations which create, including in a sector called IT, unionization. We had never heard, many years ago about unions getting created in IT. It was all about pizza and the Cokes and, good life, opportunity to go abroad, learn new skills and so on and so forth. Now there are unions, for IT professionals, which is shocking as a phenomenon. What do you think will happen when good times come? Good times for the employees. What happens? Will they actually stay? Will they jump ship? Will at that time companies start playing Santa Claus? What does it do to a brand reputation? You may get some people in, but if you have a hire and fire and a squeeze when the times were tough. So, strategically, beyond just a tactical quarter-on-quarter response, companies must think deeper, because it is only in tough times when you talk about fairness, you talk about inclusion. It's not just about gender. It's about practices like this. What about financial inclusion, financial wellness? Yes, it must make business sense, but this could seem very exploitative and very discriminatory. So I would worry for more long-term implications of what otherwise looks to be a very exploitative near-term win for organizations.
All right, Prabir, stay with us. So we are taking a very short breather here at this stage. We will continue this conversation on the other side of this short break. Don't go anywhere. Keep it with In Your Interest on News9 Live.
Hey, careful, huh? My daddy got it from abroad. Hey, disaster! How will you pay for the loss now?
In stock market, you should take risk as per your capacity and knowledge. Trade in options very carefully.
Wow, Dikra! Absolutely perfect. Take risk with full understanding.
Soch kar, samajh kar, invest kar.
Give it to me, pass.
We'll put new glasses in the windows and they keep breaking it. This is the fourth time. You are playing football throughout the day. Will you win the world by playing football?
Yes, uncle. I will now conquer the world by playing football. Let's go to Germany.
World's largest football talent hunt, News9, Indian Tigers and Tigresses. In association with DFB Pokal, Bundesliga, BVB and India Football Center. Train and play matches in Europe. Register now and fly to Germany. IndianTigersandTigresses.com.
Why is the state not looking at putting an embargo on that?
As a Telangana person, I will not accept.
How do ordinary folks deal with this?
Joe Biden is not going to be the Democratic presidential nominee.
I made my choice. Kamala Harris. She's experienced. She's tough. She's capable. I took on perpetrators of all kinds, predators. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
I am the one saving democracy.
He has tapped into the fear and anxiety about demographic change in the US.
This polarization in the United States. Some people are even suggesting that there could be a civil war.
You are this unable to solve your own domestic problems. You have no right to claim to be anybody else in the world. And we're moving into a multipolar world where the United States will not lead.
This and more. Streaming on News9 Plus. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
You're watching In Your Interest here on News9 Live. I'm Krishna Kumar. Why are freshers' salaries so low in India's IT sector? In fact, across the board, that's a big question we're asking. And joining us on the show is Prabir Jha of Prabir Jha People Advisory. And we also have Mr. Gaurang Shah, Senior Vice President, Geojit Financial Services, also now joining us. Gaurang, is there something fundamentally, chronically wrong with India's IT sector? We know that, it has been, the IT sector in India has been under pressure because of a slowdown in business in Western markets. But is it under so much pressure that it can pay freshers only 2.5 lakh rupees per annum?
Well, thank you and good evening to all of you all. So, as we all know, the entire IT pack is coming out of a very strong headwinds in terms of domestic market as well as overseas market. Earnings have been lackluster over the last maybe about 1.5 to 2 years. We've seen slight ray of hope in terms of improvement for the first quarter of FY25. And when there are budgetary cuts and discretionary cuts across the globe, I think it is only prudent to get your hand onto the operating side of expenses, and along with that, not to forget, AI is something that we all are eager to learn and more about. But the problem is you can't have too many things on the negative side and expect to deliver. I think it is a matter of time. We should possibly give IT companies some time to tide over the kind of issues that they are dealing with, and then possibly take a call. Just because one or two large companies are doing something which is not in the interest of the employee, I think it won't be prudent to sum it up for the entire sector.
Okay, so you're saying that the fresher salaries are not low across the board, only in one or two companies. But the fact of the matter is that you're seeing the widening disparity between CEO pay and freshers pay. CEO pay has been rising unabatedly over the last 5 years, whereas the freshers pay seem to be stuck in a time loop. The Cognizant's latest offer is the same thing it offered 20 years ago for a fresher.
That is what I'm saying, that one or two companies or maybe a couple of Indian companies following the footsteps with respect to tied down strings in terms of offering the packages does not mean that it is applicable to the entire sector. We'll have to wait and watch as to what steps are taken by these companies in respect to how to better the profitability and numbers, and at the same time control their overhead expenses in terms of the headcounts and the salaries they pay to the headcounts.
Right. Stay with us. Prabir, that brings us to a very important question. They are cutting down costs as much as they can. IT companies in the middle of it. There's a lot of recalibration happening because of artificial intelligence as well. Artificial intelligence means, you have so many job roles that get slashed and, which consequently results in shrinking job opportunities. You need lesser people to do the same amount of work, which means more scarcity for jobs, which means that, you can get people on board for as low as possible.
So, Krishna, this is a refrain that I continue to have, that, there is a demand-supply labor economics that we have to recognize. What kind of skill sets are at premium? What kind of jobs do you really have to offer? Is there a glut of supply? And very clearly, economics tells us that if there is more supply than demand, then very clearly the compensation will get rewired. So there is no rocket science in salary adjustment, salaries going up or down. So that one understands very clearly. And there was a time when the IT compensation was very overheated. I'm talking many years ago now, but it was very overheated. So corrections happen. I think, the logic of looking at manpower cost, particularly in the IT industry, which is one of the biggest cost heads, and tightening, and making sure that you get your cost arbitrage right is completely understandable. I think the larger question, which continues to kind of be something I would be worried about, is the fairness of it. That you're doing it is fine. How do you explain, therefore, a CEO's compensation? I mean, if this was, a more pan-industry or more, cross-industry movements, which, if you ask me, incidentally, it has been. I mean, we are seeing growing differentials between the highest paid executive and the junior most employees. When it comes to downsizing, why is it that, just the rank and file are the people who get fired? Is the problem there? So, or is immediacy or is proximity to power shapers, more important? So I would personally worry more about the philosophy and the practice of why you freeze compensation or why you do downsizing, because at the end of the day, everything must be above board. See, some people will get hurt, no one understands. But is there an operating logic of fairness in the decisions you take? You can't be overly buttering the CEO's toast while others are starving. I mean, that doesn't make sense at all. It's even if you were to say that the CEO delivered overall still better returns in a turbulent market and therefore must be rewarded, or competition for CEO talent is scarce, one understands. But at the same time, you also have to be fair. And I think that's the issue of fairness that I would, and personally, I challenge the boards in their wisdom of doing it. They're appeasing CEOs maybe at the cost of ruining reputation and brand, and totally being a mercenary play. And if that's the way a company wants to be,
Right.
I mean, it's a choice that they make.
Gaurang, at this stage, the only question I have to ask you is this. There is the possibility of a rate cut coming out in the US very soon. And if the rate cut does come, then discretionary spending by US and companies in the US could go up, which could mean better revenues for Indian IT companies. And would you say then that could possibly lead to a better hiring by Indian IT companies?
So, rate cuts, possibly September is the time what we've been told by the Fed chair. We'll have to wait and watch for the, quantum of that rate cut. And of course, it won't be immediately. These things take time to evolve over a period of time. So to expect that the rate cut will happen in the next day or the next week, budgetary cuts that were put in place will be back to normal or better than normal, I think this is a little bit wishful thinking. At Geojit, we strongly believe that second half of this financial year, that is from third quarter onwards, you are going to see improvement come through. That improvement, like I said, it's not going to be magical, but it will at least give you a sign of positivity. And from there on, we'll have to possibly evaluate how the situation is unfolded. Not to forget, Indian IT companies post the first quarter numbers. Some of the management have spoken about increasing the headcount. So let's wait and watch. I don't think we should jump the gun on just maybe some instances.
Okay, fair enough. We won't jump the gun. We will leave it at that. I'm afraid we've completely run out of time here on the show. Thank you, Gaurang Shah, Senior Vice President, Geojit Financial Services Limited, for taking time out to be with us here on In Your Interest. And of course, Mr. Prabir Jha, Distinguished HR Strategist, Founder and CEO of Prabir Jha People Advisory. Thank you, Prabir, for taking time out to be with us. And with that, it's a wrap here from my side. Thank you so much for watching. This is Krishna Kumar signing off.
This is News 9 Live, India's only digital exclusive live stream. For the early adopters, bringing you the news 24/7. For the smart audiences on the smartest TVs. News9 Live. Stream now on your smart TVs.
Now it may sound cliched, but the youth have been at the vanguard of almost every revolution. In Bangladesh, a students' organization called Students Against Discrimination kick-started the protests that successfully brought down a 15-year-old government and dethroned the world's longest-serving woman prime minister. So who are the student leaders at the helm of this revolution? News9 Plus decodes. Today, the Students Against Discrimination movement has become a household name in Bangladesh. This group emerged in response to the Supreme Court's June 2024 ruling, which reinstated a 30% job quota for descendants of freedom fighters. The movement challenged this quota as discriminatory and politically manipulated, and called for a fairer and more equitable job allocation system. But what began as protests against a discriminatory quota system soon evolved into an anti-government movement, which eventually toppled Bangladesh's ruling Awami League party and forced its leader Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to resign. Who are the biggest faces of Students Against Discrimination? Now, the first name that comes to mind is Nahid Islam. Islam is a sociology student at Dhaka University and the coordinator of the